Hey everyone. So I've watched the Gillette ad a few times and have had many viewers ask me to do a commentary about it. So here it is. However, before we get started, I should say this. I've read and watched a variety of videos criticizing Gillette's man-hating bigotry and racism against white heterosexual males. Generally, I agree with every criticism leveled at Gillette. However, I'm also aware that the ad itself was created by an Australian radical feminist single mother. This type of ad is what I expect from a man-hating bigot. Now, even though I agree with all the criticism leveled at Gillette, I should give you guys fair warning because I actually stand in support of Gillette's message, but not the virtue signaling, shaming message they overtly sent, but the ones that Gillette also inadvertently included that share entirely unintentional, irrefutable truths. So the best way to get started is to review the video itself.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual harassment.
Masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get? Is it? We can't hide from it.
Sexual harassment is taking over.
It's been going on far too long.
You notice how in this part where they show the video of the guy grabbing the woman's butt, they don't actually show actual examples. It's all fictitious. I want you to kind of keep that in mind because whenever feminism goes after this whole idea of toxic masculinity, you notice how like they don't actually use real examples because the reality is that in the real world, most of those examples don't exist. So they just have to fabricate them. Let's continue.
We can't laugh it off.
Who's the daddy?
What I actually think she's trying to say.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
There. White heterosexual males, and every one of them has their own barbecuer. It's like they're lining up for a gay cook-off. I don't know. It's really strange. I mean, that's a huge sausage party. But anyway.
But something finally changed.
Allegations.
Oh my God. The fake newscaster herself. The woman who thinks she's better than everybody else. Yeah, isn't she like some sort of genocide denier or something? But anyway, we're moving on.
Regarding sexual assault and sexual harassment.
But she says
I think it's really impressive how they put all this fake news up. Notice how there's very few white males, and the ones that are there, there's only like, what, two of them talking, and one of them looks overtly gay. The bald-haired guy.
And there will be no going back. Because we believe in the best in men.
Men need to hold other men accountable.
Smile, sweetie. Come on.
To say the right thing.
Notice how the minority, telling police is the white guy. Anyway.
To act the right way.
Bro, not cool. Not cool.
Some already are.
That whole section right there where the guy stopped the guy from talking to the girl. It reminded me of that Dave Chappelle skit. You in a hose uniform, but, whatever. We're moving on.
And weighs big.
Yo, men. We're everywhere.
And small.
I am strong.
But some is not enough.
It's not how we treat each other, okay? Okay.
Because the boys watching today will be the men of tomorrow.
What's funny about that is that the boys watching today are watching how badly their single mothers treated their fathers and all sorts of other men in their lives. And they said, wow, I don't want to be with a woman like that. And that's why a lot of these young men are going their own way. And they're avoiding marriage, and they're avoiding relationships, and they're avoiding women. So let's continue. Okay, so now the little video is over. Let's talk about the takeaways. First, notice how there were no women protecting these men at all. Like the whole ad was devoid of females supporting men. Now, at the end of the video, they talk about how men need to be the example for boys who will be the men of tomorrow. Now, this is extremely important, and I want you to remember it. In addition to that, you notice how the majority of the men targeted by the Me Too movement are actually leftists. Now, I know this isn't something that's included in the ad, but they did bring up the Me Too movement. And so I think this is relevant to talk about. But I mean, you notice how most of the men, I would say, I don't know, 95 to 100% of all the men targeted by Me Too, they were all leftists. I don't know of a single conservative who was targeted by the Me Too movement successfully. I don't, maybe there was a couple, but I mean, the majority of them were leftists. You look at Weinstein, he was a Democrat. He gave a bunch of money to Hillary. He gave money to feminist movements. Most of the other men targeted by Me Too, they're in the same boat, obviously to a lesser degree because they weren't as rich as Weinstein, but that's just something to think about. And the reason is because leftist men and feminist men, they're trash, just like leftist corporate officers. They're trash. I mean, look at Google. Google's now being sued because they gave a confirmed sexual harasser who was one of their corporate executives a $90 million corporate parachute. And the guy was practically a rapist. And yet they think that that's okay. Now, in going back to the Gillette ad, though, you notice how it's men who protect, not women. There isn't a single example in the commercial of either a protective woman or a supportive woman anywhere. And the reality is it's because thanks to the social contagion that is feminism, that breed of woman is all but extinct. Now, the one exception in the Gillette ad is the mom holding her son, but she's not protecting him. She's just consoling him after the fact. Now, the other thing that the ad says inadvertently is that women can't take care of themselves and that they need men to protect them. These facts alone destroy the feminist narrative that women are equal to men, which brings me to my final point. Men already protect each other, which the ad admits, which is why the MGTOW movement continues to grow. Now, let's talk about why this ad is part fantasy, because even in the age of false Me Too allegations of harassment, men are still protectors. They're the majority of firefighters, paramedics, police officers, and in their personal lives, men protect their communities all around the country. For example, from Red State, men form human shield around women to protect them from gunmen during California shooting. Clearly, these men were a perfect example of toxic masculinity. Here's another one. Moment hero firefighter and another selfless man shield women and children when a gunman opens fire at a New Mexico convenience store. Or let's talk about the Dark Knight shootings for a second. In the Aurora Theater, the men protected the women. What does that mean? Now, I think like a dozen men were killed because they used their bodies to cover up the women as this man was shooting an assault rifle, and they sacrificed their lives for the women they loved. But to hear feminists tell it, these men don't exist. But these are real-world examples of real men protecting women and children and even their communities every day. And this fact, by itself, debunks the feminist narrative that most men and masculinity is toxic. The Gillette commercial embodies this. When you see men step out of line, other men hold them accountable, not women. This is nothing new. This wasn't invented with feminism. It's how men are biologically programmed, and before feminism took control of society, it's what men used to do every day. Nobody needed to tell them to do it. They just did it. So that brings us to USA Today. And they state, Gillette commercial controversy. Men should just get over it and adapt to the Me Too era. And frankly, I agree. Men should adapt to the Me Too era. And really, they are. Bloomberg reports, Wall Street rule for the hashtag Me Too era. Avoid women at all costs. You know what? That's the MGTOW movement. The Bloomberg and Wall Street, they're promoting MGTOW all day, every day. Thank you, Me Too movement. You are causing MGTOW to grow. Avoid women at all cost. And you know, the thing is that instead of women, men are turning to dolls. Okay? Dolls are way better than real women. 3 men reveal why they really use robots. Of course, I'm tone policing myself here because of the whole monetization thing, but we're going to move on. I'm probably going to get dinged because I use the word feminist too much. Okay? Brothel says dolls are now more popular than real women. An Australian brothel has spent nearly $10,000 on a second doll after the first one attracted more business than real sex workers. You had one job, sex workers. One job. It was to do something other than be a dead lay. Okay? I mean, when the actual inanimate object is more enjoyable than you, you are not doing your job. Now, why do I blame feminism? Well, some of the reasons are included in my book, The Feminist Lie, but there's some others as well. Okay? Rollins College states, the feminist movement contributed to the growing trends of divorce in the United States during the 1970s. There were a variety of ways in which feminists either subtly or overtly encouraged divorce. Their success in liberalizing divorce laws to provide options for unhappy or abused women was one such way. The feminist argument that marriage was a form of oppression, as marriage meant sexual segregation, also led to the pursuit of divorce. Is this true? Did feminists destroy marriage and lionize divorce? Well, yeah, they did. In fact, here's some feminist quotes to confirm it. Marriage as an institution developed from rape as a practice. Rape, originally defined as abduction, became marriage by capture. Marriage meant the taking was to extend in time, to be not only use, but of possession of or ownership. Andrea Dworkin. Okay, she is an actual man-hater, by the way. The complete destruction of traditional marriage and the nuclear family is the revolutionary or utopian goal of feminism. Kate Millett. And this one I particularly like. Never speak of marriage as an achievement. The reason that I like this one so much is because feminism targeted the African American community before they targeted the Caucasian community. And so today, African American feminists are pretty much the most toxic. Feminism's promotion of divorce is so extreme that they even have their own magazine. Okay? Florida has its own brand of divorce magazine, and Florida isn't the only state that does it. This was the old school print edition from 2004, but they even have divorcemagazine.com, and they do printed versions in California, Illinois, and New Jersey. Now, I can hear it. DDJ, this video is supposed to be about a Gillette ad. Why are you ranting about feminism and its war on marriage? So, listen, guys, stay with me. I'm about to explain it. Now, CNS News reports 37.8% in the generation that starts turning 21 next year was born to unwed moms. Now, this article was in 2018, so they're talking about this year, 2019. In the 20-year cohort of American young people who were born in the years from 1998 through 2017 and will start turning 21 next year, 37.8% were born to unmarried mothers, according to data published by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. This is a direct result of feminism's war on marriage. And here's the thing, it doesn't include the young adults who are turning 21, who are the children of divorce. Now, the American Enterprise Institute states, children in two-parent families do better in life. And in addition to that, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops doubles down and even provides some sources. They state, social science on the benefits that marriage provides to children. Children raised in intact married families are more likely to attend college, are physically and emotionally healthier, are less likely to be physically or sexually abused, less likely to use drugs or alcohol and to commit delinquent behaviors, have decreased risk of divorcing when they get married, are less likely to become pregnant, impregnate someone as a teenager, and are less likely to be raised in poverty. Children receive gender-specific support from having a mother and a father. Research shows that particular roles of mothers, example to nurture, and fathers, example to discipline, as well as complex biologically rooted interactions, are important for the development of boys and girls. A child living with a single mother is 14 times more likely to suffer a serious physical abuse than is a child living with married biological parents. A child whose mother cohabitates with a man other than the child's father is 33 times more likely to suffer serious physical child abuse. Okay, so I can anticipate the MGTOW community getting ready to collectively on me for promoting marriage. But just wait for a second and let me make my point before you spurg out. Why am I talking about marriage? And why am I focused on children? Well, that answer's easy. It's because the Gillette ad uses multiple examples of children being victimized. So clearly, Gillette thinks protecting children is important. So, with that in mind, let me tie everything all together so no one thinks that I'm just ranting and rambling. The Children's Advocacy Center for Houston and Harris County states, fact, family and acquaintance child sexual abuse perpetrators have reported that they look for specific characteristics in the children they choose to abuse. Perpetrators report they look for passive, quiet, troubled, lonely children from single-parent or broken homes. Now, childwelfare.gov published child abuse and neglect fatality statistics for 2016, and they state that moms acting alone are the number one killer of abused children. Let's check that out. More than one quarter, 27% of fatalities were perpetrated by the mother acting alone. 16%, well, technically 16.8% were perpetrated by the father acting alone, and 20.1% were perpetrated by the mother and father acting together. Non-parents, including mom's new boyfriend, were responsible for 16.7% of child fatalities. Now, these are actual murders. And then the CDC, that's the Center for Disease Control, goes on to state some risk factors for child abuse. And here they are. Individual risk factors. Risk factors for perpetration. Parental characteristics such as single parenthood. Non-biological, transient caregivers in the home. Example, mother's male partner, read boyfriend. Family risk factors. Family disorganization, dissolution, in other words, divorce. And of course, poor parent-child relationships probably caused by divorce or out-of-wedlock mothers. We're going to move on because they have some protective factors as well. Family protective factors, supportive family environment and social networks, nurturing parenting skills, stable family relationships, parental employment, caring adults outside the family who can serve as role models or mentors, communities that support parents and take responsibility for preventing abuse. Okay, so let's talk about the takeaways and kind of tie this whole thing in together. Feminist ideology's war on marriage created single-parent households that put children at risk and turned mothers into the number one killer of abused children in the United States. If you've watched my other videos, or you've seen my appearances on the TFM show, you will know that I often call out the Me Too movement for targeting leftist and feminist men for persecution. I even warn these men that they will be targeted repeatedly. They never listen. Feminism's war on marriage has prevented millions of American dads from parenting and protecting their children, which has put millions of children at risk for abuse, and indeed, many of them have been abused. To put it another way, feminism's war on marriage and family created the perfect environment for pedophiles and other child abusers to victimize innocent children. Even the CDC admits that the safest place for children is in a home with a stable marriage where both the biological mother and the biological father are employed and have social networks that support their marriages, which, by the way, traditionally has been Christian churches. Just saying. Now, this brings me back to Gillette's man-shaming ad. I have one last takeaway from the Gillette ad that I actually held back till now. Gillette admits that men should strive to be the best they could be. In other words, work hard, strive to achieve. In social justice terms, Gillette is promoting ableism, which in the UK is a hate crime. I'm serious. The United Kingdom is so retarded that to not be retarded is a crime there. You can't even make this shit up, okay? Which explains why they have so many problems as a country. And amusingly, this actually debunks the bullshit socialist narrative being pushed by leftists in their quest for free shit forcibly taken from those who work hard. Now, according to Gillette, be the best you can be. Don't steal shit from people who work hard to be the best they can be. Don't be socialist. Don't support the welfare state. This is a Gillette message I can get behind, though I'm not sure they realize that this would be one of the takeaways from their video. But with that said, let's get back to Gillette's core message. If men are to be the best they can be, like the Gillette ad says, then they need to stop supporting feminist ideology. Feminists are committing social genocide against white heterosexual men and men of all colors. And if you've watched my recent APA video, I include a recent study that proves that men are being discriminated against all over the Western world. Further, Watch the Gillette ad again. You see, whether they realize it or not, Gillette admits that young men need older men's mentorship and guidance. In other words, boys need a father's love. This is exactly the opposite of what feminist academia says, and it destroys the feminist divorce culture narrative. Gillette also admits that women need men to protect them because women are incapable of protecting themselves. This debunks feminism. Gillette admits there are good men in the world, which also debunks feminism. In fact, Gillette's ad admits feminism as an ideology has failed because close to 60 years into it today, Gillette admits women still need men. These are irrefutable truths, and Gillette's ad, for all its misandry and bigotry, admits all of them. The problem is that feminism has discriminated against so many men for close to 6 decades that Western men are walking away by the tens of thousands every day. Not because they're incel losers, but out of self-preservation. And until Gillette and other virtue-signaling cucked corporate brands start addressing the real problem and help eradicate feminist bigotry completely, our society will continue to suffer for it. I'm DDJ, and this has been your dose of misandry today.